She walked slowly into the small, dusty town, her heart aching with every step. The wind carried with it the scent of the dry earth and the faint sound of distant hooves. She didn't belong here. She wasn't sure where she did belong anymore. Her life had been shattered just days before, a marriage crumbling, dreams slipping through her fingers like sand. She needed a place to breathe, a moment of peace to collect herself before returning to the chaos that awaited her. The last place she thought she'd end up was here in the middle of nowhere, a place where time seemed to stand still. Her dog, an old golden retriever named Rusty, walked beside her. The dog had been her companion through it all, comforting her when no one else could. He was tired, his steps slow, but he never left her side. They had been through so much together, and now they found themselves on this long road with no clear direction. She approached a small, run-down farmhouse at the edge of the town. The paint was chipped, the porch swing swayed in the wind, creaking softly. She paused for a moment, taking in the sight. It seemed like the kind of place someone might go to disappear for a while. She needed to disappear. The man standing in front of the barn caught her attention. He was tall, rugged, and had the look of someone who had spent his life under the sun. His face was weathered, but his eyes were kind, deep-set, and full of stories. He was leaning against the barn, arms crossed, watching her. She stood still, unsure whether to approach or turn away. "Can I help you?" His voice was steady, yet warm, as if he had dealt with people who had come to him for help before. I'm just passing through," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm looking for somewhere to rest." "Well," he said, a slow smile curling his lips, "we don't get many travelers out here. You're welcome to stay for a while if you like, but there's one condition." She tilted her head, uncertain. "You feed the goats, and you can stay as long as you need." His tone was casual, almost playful, as if he were making a joke. She couldn't help but chuckle. "Feed the goats, that's the condition." He nodded. "Yeah, they're stubborn little creatures, but they make good company." She had no reason to trust him, but something in his eyes made her feel safe, even if just for a moment. She wasn't sure why she agreed, but she found herself nodding. "Deal." As she moved closer to the barn, the sound of the goats reached her ears. They were bleating loudly, impatient for their next meal. She grabbed the bag of feed the man handed her and made her way toward the pen. The man watched her from a distance, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He had seen people come and go, but something about this woman felt different. She was running from something. He could tell that much. He had learned over the years to recognize the look of someone who had been broken. He didn't know what had happened to her, but he could tell that she had been through something that had taken a piece of her spirit. She spent the next few hours feeding the goats, laughing as they pushed and shoved, trying to get their share of the food. It was a strange comfort, something so simple, but it felt like a distraction from the chaos in her mind. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the land. She could feel the weight of the day lifting from her shoulders. Maybe this wasn't such a bad place, after all. As she finished with the goats, she looked up to find the man standing at the edge of the barn, his gaze steady. "They like you," he said, his voice low. "They don't warm up to just anyone." She smiled, a rare feeling of peace settling in her chest. "I think I needed them more than they needed me." He took a few steps forward, his boots crunching on the gravel beneath him. "You don't have to explain. Everyone has their own reasons for running away, for trying to forget." Her smile faded, and she turned away, looking at the horizon. "I wasn't running away," she said quietly. I was, escaping. He didn't ask her to elaborate, understanding that some things were too painful to talk about. Instead, he simply nodded. Well, you're welcome to stay for as long as you need, no questions asked. That night, after a simple dinner of stew and bread, they sat together on the porch, watching the stars. The air was cool, and the crickets chirped softly in the distance. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she could breathe again. As the night wore on, she found herself telling him her story, bit by bit. She spoke of the broken marriage, the lies, the betrayal that had shattered everything she thought she knew about love. She spoke of the dreams she once had, the life she had once believed in, and how it had all come crashing down. He listened without interruption, his eyes never leaving hers, as if he understood every word without needing to say anything. When she finished, the silence hung in the air for a long moment. He reached over, placing a hand gently on hers. You're not alone in this, he said softly. And you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. Sometimes, it's the smallest things that help us find our way again. She didn't say anything at first, unsure of what to say. But in that moment, she realized something. She had been so focused on her pain that she hadn't allowed herself to heal. She had been carrying a weight that wasn't hers to carry anymore. The cowboy stood up, his gaze never leaving hers. I'll be here when you're ready. And in the meantime, we'll take care of the goats. As he walked back to the barn, she sat in the silence, watching the stars, feeling the weight of her heart slowly lifting. Maybe this place, this simple life, was the healing she needed. Maybe it was time to stop running and let herself heal in the way she had never allowed herself to before. The next morning, she fed the goats again, this time with a smile on her face. It wasn't much, but it was enough. She had found something here. She hadn't expected peace. And for the first time in what felt like forever, she believed in the possibility of a new beginning.